Okay, you love Linux. You love everything about Linux. You love the kernel. You love your particular GNU/Linux distribution that you use. You love a variety of free and open source programs that you run on a daily basis on your GNU/Linux distribution. And you ask yourself, how can I contribute? How can I give back to Linux and to the free software and the open source software communities? Today, we're going to take a look at how to do just that. Alright, so you want to give back to Linux and to the free and open source community. How do you do that? Well, anytime this question gets asked, usually the very first thing someone mentions is documentation. If you want to contribute to any free and open source project, documentation is one of the easier ways to contribute because you don't have to be a developer. You don't have to know how to do any kind of programming to contribute to documentation. Now, there is somewhat of a learning curve with documentation. For one thing, you do need to know about what you're writing about. So you can't be like a complete noob. You can't be a complete novice on the topic you're writing about to write good documentation. You have to have some experience in, the pages you're writing. But documentation is always needed. On pretty much any free and open source project, documentation is usually one of the things that is lacking, or in some cases, non-existent in those projects. Think about how many Linux distros, or even like large programs, the various free and open source programs you use on a daily basis. You go to their website and they have a wiki, but the wiki has pages missing, or is pretty empty to begin with. There's very little there. Translations as well. It may have a wiki, it may have some pages in it, but maybe the only language they support is English. They need somebody to do translations in, French, Spanish, German, Russian, Chinese, whatever. So even just contributing with translating a page, that in and of itself, you don't really have to have any knowledge of the material you're discussing. You just need to have knowledge of two different languages, the language you're translating from and the language you're translating to. So documentation is great. Again, contribute wikis on these project pages, even writing tutorials, even blog posts, articles, what have you, tutorials on how to do certain things with free and open source programs, how to install a distro or how to set this up, how to set that up. Even really simple stuff like when you go to GitHub and you look at a lot of open source projects that have pages on GitHub, how many of those GitHub pages are missing their README file? You see a lot of projects on GitHub that do not even have a simple README file. I install a lot of programs and on my Linux systems, and one of the first things I usually do is view the man page. Type man, name of program, to view their manual page, their man page. A lot of Linux programs don't even have a man page because nobody bothered to write one. So documentation is a great way to give back to Linux and to the free and open source community. Another very easy one to get into is report bugs. Very easy. If you run Linux at all, run software at all, you're going to have bugs. You're going to have things breaking on you. You're going to have programs crashing on you. Report those bugs. This is usually very simple. There are bug reporting tools in almost every Linux distribution installed by default. Even if they're not, you can install those tools. And even if you don't even want to do that, there are other various ways to report those bugs by going to GitHub pages or wherever these projects are they're hosting their support network. Just report bugs. Very simple. Another easy one to get into is bug triage. What is bug triage? Well, reporting bugs is usually, I got a bug, I report it. It's a new bug, right? Bug triage is, you're not necessarily experiencing a bug on your system. You're going and you're basically reviewing all these old bugs people have reported. Check and evaluate those bugs. That is actually very, very important work. See if you can duplicate that bug. See if things have changed since the last version of whatever program or whatever dependency of that program. See if things change. See if you can actually duplicate that bug, or to see if that bug is no longer relevant. It doesn't exist anymore. Things like that really, really help these open source projects, because a lot of times they just don't have enough people to go through and triage all these bugs. Help in support channels. Another fantastic way to give back to Linux and the free and open source communities. Hang out in the support forums. Try to answer questions when you know the answer. Even if you don't know the answer, it's great to hang out in these support forums so that you can gain more knowledge yourself, so that later on you might be able to help someone or help yourself. That's important too. Same thing with the IRC chat channels. You know, every Linux distribution and almost every big open source project has an IRC support channel, IRC chat. Hang out in that chat channel. If you can help somebody with a problem, great. Again, even if you don't, see what other people are asking about their problems. Research those problems. See if you can gain a little more knowledge about, whatever this particular project is that you're interested in. So again, that down the road, you're able to further help in a support capacity. Become a package maintainer. That's one that often gets overlooked, is, a lot of these Linux distributions really need more package maintainers, people to create packages. For those of you interested in it, I should link to it. Now, I'll try to remember to link in the description. I know Debian has a nice little write-up on how to become a package maintainer. I'm sure other distros do too. I'll try to link to at least one major distro, their page on how to become a package maintainer. You don't need to be a programmer. You don't need to be a developer to build a package. It's not easy. As far as there is a learning curve to it, but you don't have to be like some coder or some rocket scientist to package something. So it's a great way to help give back to Linux and the free and open source community. Even simpler, seed torrents. When these big Linux distributions release their new release, sometimes millions of people are trying to download these things. Download times can be slow. Help grab that ISO and help seed that torrent. Simple. Even more important with the smaller distros, donate server space. Say you have a server somewhere, some dedicated server somewhere, you've got some hosting account, you've got some high dollar server you're not really doing much on, maybe not doing anything on. Donate that server space. There are a lot of Linux distros that need server space, that need more mirrors, that need space to host their repos. Donate money to the projects that you support or to the projects you use on a daily basis. If you download a particular Linux distribution, you've been using it forever, you love it, you can't imagine life without distribution A. When you download their ISO, oftentimes they will have some kind of way to contribute money to the project, to donate to the project. Send them a few bucks. Send them $5. That's less than a lot of us pay at Starbucks for a coffee in the morning. Send them a few bucks, every few months when you download the latest version of their distro. They deserve it. You know what? Say thank you to them. Even if you are not in a position to donate money, or you really should donate money to them. Everybody has a couple of bucks to spare, but beyond money, just say thanks to the developers, to the art team, to the support teams of your favorite programs. That goes a long way. So many of these people that are working for free hours and hours on end to help build these free and open source projects that you love. You know what? A thank you goes a long way. Spread awareness about Linux and these free and open source projects that you love. Talk about them. Tell your friends about them. Write about them on the internet. Especially the ones that nobody really knows about. I know oftentimes I'll find projects that I just think are great and no one's ever heard of them. And you look and they only have 3 people that are actually developing the project. And when you tell people about it, they're like, never heard of that project. It's because no one has really spread the word. You got to get it out there. You got to get it, on the blogosphere, you know, on Reddit, on YouTube, like the stuff I do on YouTube. Spread awareness about the programs that you support. And finally, and I've already mentioned this earlier in this video, but learn more about Linux and gain experience personally about Linux, more experience than what you already know. Make yourself a better Linux user, because the more you know about Linux, the more you can give back to Linux and the free and open source communities. Anyway, ran over. Peace, guys.